We all feel the pull to fit in. It's almost instinctual, a quiet urge to blend into the rhythm of the group, to adapt to the expectations that surround us, to avoid standing out too much. It's a behavior that begins early, shaped by the environments we grow up in and reinforced by the rules of the societies we inhabit. We learn quickly that acceptance often comes at the price of conformity, and so we adjust. We alter our behavior, our beliefs, our very identities to align with what others deem acceptable. And while this instinct to fit in might make life more comfortable in the short term, in the long term, it can become one of the greatest barriers to living a life of purpose, and authenticity, and fulfillment. Think about this. When was the last time you made a decision that truly reflected who you are, rather than who you thought others wanted you to be? How often do you censor your thoughts, avoid saying what you truly feel, or act in ways that are out of alignment with your inner truth just to maintain harmony with the group? We do this so often that it becomes second nature, and in doing so, we lose sight of something essential ourselves. The need to fit in becomes a subtle but powerful form of self-abandonment. And the more we abandon ourselves, the more we drift away from the life we're meant to live.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Fitting in is seductive because it gives us a fleeting sense of belonging. It makes us feel included, validated, and safe. But this safety is an illusion. It comes at the expense of authenticity. But it demands that we prioritize external approval over internal alignment. And the more we do this, the more dependent we become on the opinions of others to feel secure. This dependency creates a kind of inner fragility, a state where our sense of self is no longer rooted in who we are, but in how well we conform to the expectations of those around us. The problem with living this way is that it divides you. It creates a separation between the person you show to the world and the person you truly are. And the bigger that divide becomes, the more disconnected you feel, not just from others, but from yourself. You might find yourself wondering why life feels so unfulfilling, even when you're doing everything right. You might feel an unshakable sense of emptiness, even when you're surrounded by people who seem to accept you. This is the price of fitting in. It robs you of the chance to live a life that is truly yours. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we trade our authenticity for acceptance? At the root of it all is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being alone. We are social creatures, wired to seek connection and belonging. And so we convince ourselves that the only way to avoid the pain of isolation is to conform. But what we fail to realize is that the pain of living inauthentically is far greater than the pain of being misunderstood or judged. The pain of betraying yourself is a wound that cuts deeper than any external rejection ever could. Here's the truth that most people don't want to face. You cannot truly belong unless you are willing to be yourself. Belonging is not about fitting into someone else's mold, it's about being fully and unapologetically who you are and finding the people and spaces that accept you as you are. But this kind of belonging requires courage. It requires you to stop hiding, to stop pretending, to stop living your life according to someone else's script. It requires you to step into the raw, unpolished truth of who you are, even when it feels risky, even when it means standing alone. The need to fit in also limits your growth. When you conform to the expectations of others, you are not just hiding parts of yourself, you are stifling your potential. Every time you silence your ideas, suppress your creativity, or hold back your truth to avoid standing out, you are keeping yourself small. You are denying the world the unique gifts and perspectives that only you can offer. But think about this. How many great ideas have gone unspoken? How many dreams have gone unfulfilled? How many lives have gone unlived because of the fear of being different? Fitting in is comfortable, but it is also stagnant. Growth requires discomfort. It requires you to step outside the familiar, to challenge the status quo, to question the rules that you've been taught to follow. It requires you to take risks, to speak up, to stand out, to go against the grain when necessary. But most of us avoid this because we equate discomfort with danger. We've been conditioned to believe that standing out is risky, that being different is a liability. And so we stay in our comfort zones, even when those comfort zones feel suffocating. But here's the paradox. The very thing we fear, being different, being judged, being rejected, is the thing that will set us free. When you stop trying to fit in, you give yourself permission to be fully alive. You give yourself permission to explore the edges of your potential, to follow the call of your soul, to create a life that feels meaningful and true. And yes, this path comes with challenges. Not everyone will understand your choices, but some people will judge you. Some people will walk away. But the people who stay, the people who truly see you, will be the ones who matter. And the life you create, the life that is rooted in your truth, will be worth every moment of discomfort. Let me ask you this. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to fit in? If you stopped seeking approval, stopped chasing validation, stopped pretending to be someone you're not? What dreams would you pursue? What truths would you speak? What risks would you take? These are not hypothetical questions. They are the questions that define your life. Because the moment you start living for yourself instead of for others, everything changes. You begin to reclaim your power, your voice, your freedom. You begin to live not as a shadow of someone else's expectations, but as the fullest expression of who you are. But breaking free from the need to fit in is not about rejecting everyone and everything around you. It's not about isolating yourself or refusing to compromise. It's about discernment. It's about knowing where to draw the line between connection and conformity. It's about learning how to be part of a group without losing yourself in the process. This requires you to cultivate a strong sense of self, a deep understanding of who you are, what you value, and what you stand for. Because when you know yourself, you can navigate the pressures of the world without being swallowed by them. This is why self-awareness is so critical. You cannot break free from the need to fit in if you don't know who you are. You need to understand your values, your passions, your boundaries, your strengths, and your weaknesses. You need to know what feels true to you and what doesn't. And this self-awareness doesn't come from external validation, it comes from within. It comes from spending time with yourself, from listening to your inner voice, from paying attention to the things that light you up and the things that drain you. It comes from being honest with yourself, even when the truth is uncomfortable. And once you have this self-awareness, you need to act on it. Awareness without action is meaningless. If you know that something in your life is out of alignment, you need to have the courage to change it. This might mean setting boundaries, even if it upsets others. It might mean walking away from relationships, jobs, or situations that no longer serve you. It might mean speaking your truth, even when it feels risky. These actions are not easy, but they are necessary. Because every time you choose authenticity over conformity, you strengthen your connection to yourself. You reclaim a piece of your power. And over time, these choices add up, creating a life that feels authentic, fulfilling, and free. When you stop living for external approval, something extraordinary begins to happen. The pressure to fit in starts to fade, and in its place, a sense of freedom emerges. This freedom is not the absence of challenges, it's the freedom to face those challenges as your true self. It's the ability to stand in your own truth, even when the world tells you that truth is inconvenient or uncomfortable. And it's the realization that the life you've been trying to fit into was never meant for you. It was someone else's idea of what a life should look like, not yours. But here's the thing, stepping into your authenticity isn't just about rejecting conformity, it's about embracing your uniqueness. It's about recognizing that the parts of you that don't fit in are not flaws to be fixed, they are gifts to be celebrated. The world doesn't need another copy of the same template. It needs people who are willing to break the mold, to challenge the norms, to bring something new and original into existence. And that starts with you. It starts with the courage to stop hiding and to start showing up as the person you were always meant to be. One of the biggest barriers to authenticity is the fear of judgment. It's the voice in your head that says, "What will people think?" This question has stopped more dreams, silenced more voices, and stifled more creativity than almost anything else. But let's break this fear down. What are you really afraid of? Are you afraid of being misunderstood, of being criticized, of being rejected? These fears are real, but they are not insurmountable. And more importantly, they are not as dangerous as they seem. The truth is, people will judge you no matter what you do. Whether you conform or stand out, whether you play it safe or take risks, there will always be someone who disagrees, disapproves, or doesn't understand. So if judgment is inevitable, why not be judged for being yourself? Living authentically doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It doesn't mean you isolate yourself or disregard the feelings of those around you. What it means is that you stop letting the fear of judgment dictate your choices. You stop living a life that is designed to please everyone else at the expense of your own happiness. And in doing so, you open the door to relationships that are built on genuine connection rather than performance. Because when you show up as your true self, you give others permission to do the same. You create space for honesty, for vulnerability, for real human connection. But authenticity requires more than just courage, it requires self-awareness. You cannot live authentically if you don't know who you are. And knowing who you are is not as simple as it sounds. It requires you to peel back the layers of conditioning, to question the beliefs and values you've inherited, to confront the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. It requires you to ask, what do I truly want? What do I truly value? What kind of life feels meaningful to me? These are not easy questions, but they are essential. Because without this clarity, you will always be at the mercy of external influences. You will confuse other people's expectations for your own desires, and you will end up living a life that feels hollow, no matter how successful it might appear. Let's talk about success for a moment. One of the most insidious ways we conform is by adopting society's definition of success without ever questioning whether it aligns with who we are. We chase the job, the house, the status, the recognition not because these things truly matter to us, but because we've been told they should. And when we achieve them, we wonder why we still feel unfulfilled. The reason is simple. Success without authenticity is empty. It's like building a house on a foundation of sand. It might look impressive, but it won't stand the test of time. Authentic success looks different for everyone. For some, it might mean pursuing a creative passion. For others, it might mean building deep, meaningful relationships. For others still, it might mean living a life of service or exploration or simplicity. The point is, there is no one-size-fits-all definition of success. The only success that matters is the kind that aligns with your values, your desires, your truth. And the only way to achieve that kind of success is to stop trying to fit into someone else's definition and start creating your own. But authenticity isn't just about what you do, it's about how you live. It's about the choices you make every day, in the small moments as well as the big ones. It's about speaking your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about setting boundaries, even when it disappoints others. It's about honoring your needs, your values, your intuition, even when it goes against the grain. These choices are not always easy, but they are what create a life that feels real, a life that feels true. One of the greatest gifts of authenticity is that it allows you to let go of comparison. That when you are living in alignment with your own truth, you no longer feel the need to measure yourself against others. You stop caring about who has more money, more recognition, more success, because you understand that their path is not your path. You understand that your worth is not determined by how you stack up against others, but by how fully you are living in alignment with who you are. And this freedom from comparison is one of the most liberating experiences you can have. It allows you to focus on your own growth, your own journey, your own unique contribution to the world. But let's be honest, living authentically is not without its challenges. It will test you. It will ask you to face your fears, to confront your insecurities, to step into discomfort again and again. It will require you to let go of the need for certainty, the need for approval, the need for control. And it will demand that you trust yourself, even when the path ahead is unclear. But here's what you gain in return: clarity, freedom, and a deep sense of peace. When you are living authentically, you don't have to second-guess yourself. You don't have to wonder whether you're doing the right thing, because you know deep in your bones that you are living in alignment with your truth. You don't have to carry the weight of pretending, of performing, of trying to be someone you're not. And you don't have to fear the opinions of others, because you understand that their judgment says more about them than it does about you. Authenticity is not a destination, it's a practice. It's something you choose, moment by moment, day by day. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. It's like a muscle that grows with use. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, even unnatural. But over time, it becomes second nature. And as it does, you begin to experience a kind of freedom that is unlike anything you've ever known. The freedom to be yourself, without apology, without compromise, without fear. So here's the question you need to answer. Are you willing to let go of the need to fit in, even if it means standing alone? Are you willing to risk judgment, rejection, and discomfort in order to live a life that is true? Because the truth is, the cost of fitting in is far greater than the cost of standing out. The cost of fitting in is your authenticity, your potential, your freedom. And that is a price no one should have to pay. When you stop trying to fit in, you don't just free yourself, you inspire others to do the same. Authenticity is contagious. When you show up as your true self, you give others permission to do the same. You create a ripple effect that can change not just your own life, but the lives of those around you. And that, more than anything else, is why authenticity matters. It's not just about you, it's about the impact you have on the world. This is the ultimate irony of fitting in. The thing we do to feel safe and accepted is the very thing that keeps us from experiencing true belonging. Because true belonging is not about fitting in, it's about being seen, fully and completely, for who you are. And that kind of belonging can only happen when you are willing to stand out,